Security, remove this woman from my building immediately. Victoria Blackwood's voice cut through the marble-floored lobby of Nexus Global Enterprises like a blade. 37 employees in the main atrium froze mid-conversation, their eyes fixed on the cleaning lady in the faded blue uniform, who stood perfectly still beside her cart. The woman didn't flinch, didn't argue, she simply smiled. A knowing expression that made Victoria's perfectly manicured hands tremble with rage. "Ma'am," the cleaning lady said softly, glancing at her wrist, where an impossibly expensive watch caught the morning light. "You might want to reconsider this decision." By midnight that evening, Victoria Blackwood would be watching her 20-year career dissolve on every major news network. But right now, standing in her $4,000 Chanel suit in the center of her corporate kingdom, she felt invincible. The autumn sun cast long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Nexus Global Enterprises headquarters in downtown Minneapolis. Victoria Blackwood, 48, stood on the 52nd floor, surveying the bustling financial district below. As chief executive officer of the company's Northwest division, she controlled a business empire worth $2.8 billion and employed over 5,000 people across 12 states. Miss Blackwood, her executive assistant, Amanda Torres, announced through the intercom, "The board of directors will be arriving in 30 minutes for the emergency restructuring meeting." Victoria's stomach tightened. Today's meeting would determine whether she'd be promoted to global CEO, the position she'd been ruthlessly pursuing for 3 years. The mysterious new board chairwoman, someone called Elena Vasquez, would be attending virtually from the company's international headquarters. Victoria had never met Vasquez, but rumors suggested she was young, brilliant, and completely ruthless when it came to executive performance. "Amanda, ensure the Crimson Conference Room is perfect. Fresh flowers, premium coffee, and absolutely no interruptions. Today decides everything." Victoria adjusted her platinum jewelry and checked her reflection in the window. Every detail had to be flawless. The presentation she'd prepared would showcase her cost-cutting initiatives, efficiency improvements, and vision for global expansion. She'd worked 18-hour days for months, sacrificing relationships, health, and sanity for this moment. The elevator chimed, delivering her to the ground floor where she planned to personally greet each board member. Corporate politics demanded these personal touches, handshakes, small talk, and the subtle power dynamics that determined billion-dollar decisions. The Nexus Global lobby was a cathedral of corporate power. Black marble floors reflected the warm light from crystal chandeliers, while abstract art worth millions adorned the walls. Victoria's heels clicked authoritatively as she crossed the space, nodding to employees who scrambled to acknowledge her presence. "Good morning, Miss Blackwood," called out James Chen, the head of marketing. "Excited about today's board meeting." "Confidence, James, not excitement. Excitement suggests uncertainty." Victoria's voice carried the cold precision that had earned her the nickname Ice Queen among lower-level employees. As she approached the main reception desk, Victoria noticed something that made her jaw clench. A cleaning cart sat near the executive elevator bank, cheap plastic buckets, worn mops, and industrial cleaning supplies cluttering the pristine lobby during peak business hours. "Where is building management?" Victoria demanded of the receptionist, Sarah Kim. "Why is maintenance equipment visible during executive hours?" Sarah glanced nervously toward the women's restroom. "I believe Luz is finishing the executive washroom cleaning, Miss Blackwood. She should be done momentarily." Luz Martinez emerged from the restroom at that exact moment, wearing a faded blue cleaning uniform that had seen better days. She was approximately 45 years old, with graying hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and hands that showed years of manual labor. What struck Victoria as odd was the woman's posture, confident, almost regal, despite her menial position. "Yo!" Victoria called out sharply. "Cleaning staff." Luz turned calmly, making direct eye contact in a way that surprised Victoria. Most building maintenance workers avoided looking at executives directly. "Yes, ma'am. Do you understand that board members will be arriving in 25 minutes? Do you comprehend the level of professionalism expected in this lobby during executive hours?" Luz's expression remained neutral. "I understand completely, ma'am. I was finishing the executive washroom cleaning, as requested by building management." Building management doesn't make requests. They give orders, and those orders should never interfere with critical business operation. Victoria's voice rose slightly, drawing attention from nearby employees. Marcus Thompson, the Director of Human Resources, had just entered the lobby and witnessed the exchange. Something about Victoria's tone made him uncomfortable. He'd seen her tear apart executives in boardrooms, but publicly berating building staff seemed excessive, even for her. "Miss Blackwood," Marcus approached carefully, "perhaps we should focus on the board meeting preparations." "Marcus, this is exactly the kind of operational inefficiency I'll be addressing with the board today. Unauthorized personnel disrupting premium business space during critical hours." Victoria gestured dramatically at Luz, who continued cleaning her cart with methodical precision. "Ma'am, with respect," Luz interjected quietly, "I was specifically scheduled to complete this area before 9 a.m. It's currently 8:47. Victoria's eyes flashed dangerously. "Did I ask for your schedule? Did anyone request your input on timing?" "No, ma'am. I was simply clarifying. You were arguing with a senior executive, in front of other employees. Do you understand the chain of command in this building?" The lobby had grown quiet. Employees pretended to check phones or review documents, but everyone was listening. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, recognizing the signs of Victoria's famous temper escalating beyond professional bounds. Luz checked her watch, a movement so subtle that only a few people noticed, but those who saw it were struck by something unexpected. The watch was clearly expensive, very expensive, completely out of place on the cleaning lady's wrist. "Miss Blackwood," Luz said, her voice remaining calm despite the public humiliation, "I've been working in this building for 12 years. I know the protocols, the schedules, and the expectations. 12 years of emptying trash cans and mopping floors hardly qualifies you to understand executive-level operations," Victoria snapped. "This building houses billion-dollar decisions, global strategy meetings, international negotiation. Your presence during these critical hours is completely inappropriate." By now, over 40 employees had gathered in the lobby, either arriving for work or drawn by the increasingly heated confrontation. Several people began discreetly recording on their phones, sensing that something significant was unfolding. Jennifer Walsh, a junior marketing associate, held her phone steady as she watched Victoria's public breakdown. The scene felt uncomfortable, a powerful executive demolishing someone who couldn't fight back. "Ma'am," Luz tried again, "if there's been a scheduling miscommunication, I'm happy to coordinate with building management to adjust." "The miscommunication," Victoria interrupted, her voice echoing off the marble walls, "is thinking you have any authority to coordinate anything. You're building maintenance, support staff. You exist to clean up after professionals, not to negotiate schedules with executives." Marcus Thompson stepped forward. "Victoria, this really isn't necessary. The board members will be arriving soon. And Marcus, this is exactly necessary. Our efficiency metrics
suffer because support staff don't understand boundaries. They think they can interrupt, argue, and negotiate as if they're equals in this organization. The cruelty in Victoria's voice was shocking even her supporters. Elena Rodriguez, the company's chief financial officer, had just arrived and watched the scene with growing disgust. "Victoria," Elena said quietly, "you're being recorded by multiple employees. Perhaps we should move this conversation." "Let them record," Victoria declared. "Let everyone see what real leadership looks like. What happens when support staff forget their place?" Lays remained perfectly calm throughout the verbal assault. She continued organizing her cleaning supplies with methodical precision, occasionally checking her expensive watch, a detail that more employees were beginning to notice.
"Miss Blackwood," Luz said finally, "before this goes any further, I'd like to ask you one simple question." "What question?" "Are you familiar with Nexus Global's executive diversity and workplace dignity policies?" The question was so specific, so precisely worded, that it stopped Victoria cold. Support staff didn't typically know detailed corporate policy language. "What are you implying?" "I'm asking if you understand the legal and professional consequences of creating a hostile work environment through public harassment based on job classification." Victoria's confidence wavered slightly. The question was too sophisticated, too legally precise for a cleaning lady to ask. But her anger overrode her caution. "Are you threatening me? Are you actually threatening a chief executive officer? I'm informing you that this conversation is being recorded by multiple devices and witnessed by dozens of employees. I'm suggesting that you might want to reconsider your approach before it becomes a more serious issue." The lobby fell completely silent. Even Victoria's strongest supporters looked uncomfortable with the public humiliation they were witnessing. "Building maintenance doesn't inform executives of anything," Victoria snarled. "You have no authority, no education, no understanding of corporate operations, and absolutely no right to lecture me about policies." Luz opened a small compartment in her cleaning cart and withdrew something that made several employees gasp. It was a leather briefcase, expensive, European-made, completely out of place with her uniform and equipment. "Miss Blackwood," Luz said quietly, "I think you should know that Nexus Global's board of directors takes workplace harassment very seriously, particularly when it's documented and witnessed." "The board of directors?" Victoria laughed harshly. "Do you think I'm afraid of filing a complaint with building management? Do you understand who I am?" "I understand exactly who you are, Victoria." The use of her first name without title or formal address sent shockwaves through the assembled crowd. No support staff member would ever address a CEO by their first name unless security, Victoria called out. Her voice sharp with panic, she tried to disguise as authority. "I need immediate assistance in the main lobby." Two security guards, David Kim and Patricia Wilson, arrived within minutes. Both had worked at Nexus Global for over 8 years. Both recognized Luz immediately. Their faces went pale. "Miss Martinez," David said carefully. "Is everything all right?" Victoria's world tilted. "Martinez." The security guard had called the cleaning lady Miss Martinez with a tone of respect that didn't match her uniform. "Officers," Victoria said, regaining her composure, "I need this woman removed from the building immediately. She's been disruptive, argumentative, and is interfering with critical business operations." Patricia Wilson looked extremely uncomfortable. "Ma'am, are you certain you want us to? I'm ordering you to remove unauthorized personnel from this lobby before board members arrive." Luz reached into her briefcase and withdrew a business card. Officers, before you follow Miss Blackwood's instructions, perhaps you should see this. David took the card with trembling hands. He read it once, twice, then showed it to Patricia. Both security guards stepped back, as if they'd been electrified. "What does it say?" Victoria demanded. David's voice was barely audible. "Luz Elena Martinez, chairwoman of the board, Nexus Global Enterprises." The lobby erupted in gasps, whispers, and the sound of phones frantically recording every moment. Victoria Blackwood felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. "That's impossible," Victoria whispered. "The chairwoman is, she's supposed to be. I'm just what, Victoria?" Luz's voice remained calm, but now carried an unmistakable authority. "Please, finish your sentence. Tell everyone exactly what you think I am." 47 employees watched in stunned silence as their CEO's world collapsed in real time. Marcus Thompson covered his face with his hands. Elena Rodriguez shook her head in disbelief. Jennifer Walsh's phone captured every devastating moment. "Chairwoman Martinez," Patricia Wilson said quietly, "what would you like us to do?" Luz looked directly at Victoria, who was struggling to process the reality of what had just occurred. "I think Miss Blackwood was about to explain her views on workplace efficiency and employee dignity. Weren't you, Victoria?" Victoria's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. 12 years. The woman had been working in the building for 12 years, not as building maintenance, but as the board chairwoman conducting some kind of undercover evaluation. The woman she'd just publicly humiliated in front of dozens of employees. The woman she'd called security to remove from her own building. The woman who controlled her career, her future, and her company. "Ma'am," Victoria finally managed, "I had no idea if I had known who you were." "That's precisely the point, isn't it?" Luz's question cut through the lobby like a surgical blade. "Your behavior wasn't based on who I was. It was based on what you assumed I was." The elevator chimed, and Amanda Torres emerged with a group of actual board members who had arrived for the meeting. They surveyed the scene, their CEO standing in the middle of a crowd, facing a woman in cleaning clothes who somehow commanded the attention of everyone present. "Chairwoman Martinez," Amanda said, recognizing Luz immediately, "we weren't expecting you to be. That is, we thought you'd be joining virtually." "Change of plans, Amanda. I decided to conduct a first-hand evaluation of our corporate culture and leadership effectiveness." Victoria felt her career evaporating in real time. Everything she'd worked for, sacrificed for, built over 20 years, was dissolving before her eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen," Luz announced to the assembled crowd, "what you've witnessed today is exactly why Nexus Global has been experiencing declining employee satisfaction, increasing turnover, and deteriorating workplace culture." She opened her briefcase wider, revealing documents marked Executive Performance Review, Workplace Culture Audit, and Leadership Evaluation Protocol. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a scheduling error. This was a comprehensive assessment of how our senior leadership treats colleagues when they believe no one important is watching. Victoria's knees nearly buckled. "Chairwoman Martinez, if I could explain the context." "The context, Victoria, is that you spent 15 minutes publicly humiliating someone you believed had no power to defend themselves. The context is that you demonstrated exactly the kind of leadership that has been driving our best employees to competitors." Marcus Thompson stepped forward. "Chairwoman Martinez, what are the next steps in this situation?" Luz checked her expensive watch, the detail that should have given Victoria a clue about her true identity. "The next steps will be determined by the emergency board meeting that was already scheduled for this morning.
The meeting that Victoria believed was about her promotion to global CEO. The words hit like physical blows. The emergency meeting wasn't about her promotion, it was about her performance evaluation, and she had just failed in the most spectacular way possible. The board meeting, Liz continued, will now focus on leadership accountability, workplace dignity policies, and the consequences of executive behavior that contradicts our corporate values. Jennifer Walsh's live stream had reached over 10,000 viewers. Comments flooded the screen. This CEO is about to get fired. Justice is coming. Record everything. Victoria, Liz said quietly. You have approximately 10 minutes before that meeting begins. I suggest you use that time to consider what kind of leader you want to be remembered as. The elevator doors opened again. A woman in an expensive suit emerged, carrying legal documents and wearing the unmistakable expression of someone delivering bad news. Chairwoman Martinez, the woman said. I'm Rebecca Santos from Legal Affairs. We're ready to proceed with the disciplinary protocol whenever you give authorization. Victoria realized with growing horror that this entire scenario had been planned. The cleaning lady disguise, the timing, the documentation, it was all part of a comprehensive evaluation that she had failed catastrophically. As employees began dispersing, whispers filling the marble lobby, Victoria stood alone in the center of her former kingdom. Her phone buzzed with urgent messages from corporate communications, her assistant and news outlets, who had somehow already gotten wind of the story. The elevator carried the real board members to the 52nd floor for a meeting that would determine not just her future, but the future of executive accountability at Nexus Global. Luz Elena Martinez, still wearing her cleaning uniform, followed the board members into the elevator. Just before the doors closed, she looked directly at Victoria. The news broadcast tonight will be very interesting, she said quietly. I suggest you watch. The doors closed, leaving Victoria alone with the security guards, a handful of employees still recording on their phones, and the growing realization that her 20-year career had just ended in the most public way possible. But what she didn't know, what nobody in that lobby could have imagined, was that the story captured on those phones would spark a national conversation about workplace dignity, executive accountability, and the hidden prejudices that exist in corporate America. By midnight, #Nexus Global Scandal would be trending worldwide. By morning, Victoria Blackwood would be the most notorious CEO in America, and Luz Elena Martinez would be leading the most comprehensive corporate culture transformation in business history.
The elevator doors had barely closed when Victoria Blackwood's phone exploded with notifications. 37 missed calls from corporate communications, 17 urgent emails from board members, and a text from her executive assistant that made her blood run cold. CNN is requesting immediate comment on Nexus Global incident. Video has 500K views in 20 minutes. Upstairs in the Crimson Conference Room, Luz Elena Martinez sat at the head of the mahogany table, still wearing her blue cleaning uniform. The contrast was jarring, a woman in working clothes commanding the attention of 12 of the most powerful executives in corporate America. Ladies and gentlemen, Luz began, her voice carrying the authority that had been hidden behind months of careful observation. What you witnessed today was the culmination of a 6-month investigation into systemic workplace discrimination at Nexus Global. Board member Harrison Wells shifted uncomfortably. Chairwoman Martinez, the methodology seems unconventional. Unconventional problems require unconventional solutions, Harrison. Our employee satisfaction scores have dropped 23% in 2 years. Exit interviews consistently mention toxic leadership cultures and classist attitudes from management. Today you saw exactly what our departing employees have been reporting. Rebecca Santos from Legal Affairs projected a presentation titled "The Martinez Protocol: Undercover Executive Assessment." The first slide showed Victoria's photo alongside damning statistics. Victoria Blackwood's division has the highest turnover rate in the company, Rebecca announced. 47 discrimination complaints filed in 18 months, including 12 that specifically mention her public treatment of support staff. Luz stood, still in her cleaning uniform, creating a powerful visual statement. For 6 months, I worked every Tuesday and Thursday as part of our maintenance staff. I witnessed conversations, interactions, and behaviors that would never occur if executives knew they were being observed by the chairwoman. The room was silent except for the scratch of pens, as board members took notes that would determine Victoria's fate. Today wasn't an accident, it was a test, and Victoria Blackwood failed spectacularly. Luz opened her briefcase, the same one that had shocked the lobby, and withdrew a tablet displaying security footage from the past 6 months. March 15th, Luz narrated as video played. Victoria berates a cafeteria worker for bringing her the wrong coffee, calling her incompetent and replaceable in front of 20 employees. The board watched in uncomfortable silence. April 8th, Victoria refuses to use the same elevator as maintenance staff, stating that support personnel should know their place. May 22nd, Victoria cancels the employee appreciation lunch because, and I quote, "We shouldn't be celebrating people for doing the minimum expected of their positions." Each video clip built a damning portrait of systematic workplace bullying disguised as executive authority. And today, Luz concluded, she publicly humiliated someone she believed couldn't defend themselves, creating a hostile work environment in front of 47 witnesses and countless social media viewers. Board member Patricia Gonzalez spoke up. "What's our legal exposure?" Rebecca Santos consulted her documents. Severe. The lobby incident alone constitutes harassment, hostile work environment, and potential discrimination. With video evidence now viral, we're looking at massive PR damage and potential class action lawsuits from every employee Victoria has mistreated. Meanwhile, Jennifer Walsh's live stream had exploded across social media platforms. #Nexus Global Scandal was trending on Twitter. TikTok videos were accumulating millions of views, and news outlets were picking up the story. A Justice Watcher. CEO publicly humiliates cleaning lady, doesn't know she's the boss. This is everything. At workplace rights. This is why we need hidden cameras in every corporate office. Power corrupts, absolutely, at corporate karma. That moment when your prejudice destroys your career in real time. Chef's kiss. Back in the conference room, the board faced an unprecedented situation. Their chairwoman had just exposed their highest performing division CEO as a workplace bully, and the entire incident was playing out on national television. "The question," said board member Michael Zhang, "is what we do next. This story is destroying our reputation in real time." Luz had changed into a proper business suit, but kept the cleaning cart visible in the corner, a symbolic reminder of what had transpired. "The next steps are clear," Luz announced. "We implement immediate reforms. Zero-tolerance policies for workplace harassment, mandatory dignity training for all executives, and we make this incident a teachable moment for corporate America." "What about Victoria?" asked Harrison Wells. "Victoria Blackwood's employment with Nexus Global ends today. Termination for cause, no severance, no benefits. Her behavior violated every principle this company claims to represent. The vote was unanimous. At 3:47 p.m., Victoria received the call that ended her career. Miss Blackwood, this is Rebecca Santos from Legal. The board has voted for your immediate termination. Security will escort you from the building within the hour. All corporate accounts, access cards, and company property must be surrendered. Victoria's hands shook as she packed her office. 20 years of achievements, awards and accolades, all destroyed by 15 minutes of cruelty captured on camera. Her assistant Amanda knocked on the door. Miss Blackwood, there are reporters in the lobby. Security suggests using the service elevator. By evening, the Nexus Global incident had sparked a nationwide conversation about workplace dignity. Talk shows, news programs, and social media influencers were dissecting every aspect of the confrontation. Dr. Angela Williams, a workplace psychology expert, appeared on MSNBC. This incident illustrates how power can corrupt basic human decency. Victoria Blackwood's behavior represents systemic issues in corporate culture that affect millions of workers daily. The story resonated because it was universal. Everyone had witnessed workplace bullying. Everyone had seen executives abuse their authority. But this time, there were consequences. 3 weeks later, Elena Martinez stood before 500 Nexus Global employees in the main auditorium, no longer disguised as a cleaning lady, but speaking as their chairwoman with a revolutionary vision. The Martinez Protocol isn't just about punishing bad behavior, she announced. It's about fundamentally changing how corporations treat every employee regardless of their position. The new policies were comprehensive. Body cameras for all security interactions, anonymous reporting systems with guaranteed protection, mandatory dignity walks where executives spent time with every department, zero-tolerance policies with immediate termination for harassment, profit-sharing programs that included all employees, not just executives. We're not just changing Nexus Global, Luz declared. We're setting a new standard for corporate America. 6 months later, Victoria Blackwood stood in a community center in downtown Minneapolis, addressing a group of unemployed workers seeking job training. "My name is Victoria Blackwood," she began, "and 6 months ago I was fired for workplace harassment. Today, I want to tell you why that was the best thing that ever happened to me." Victoria had spent her severance money starting a non-profit organization focused on workplace dignity training. She traveled to companies across the country, sharing her story as a cautionary tale. "I spent 20 years climbing the corporate ladder by stepping on people I thought were beneath me. I believed that success meant making others feel small. I was wrong about everything." The audience, many of whom worked in cleaning, food service, and other support roles, listened intently as a former CEO acknowledged their dignity and worth. Power isn't about who you can tear down, it's about who you can lift up. The Nexus Global incident had triggered changes across corporate America. Companies rushed to implement Martinez protocols of their own, terrified of becoming the next viral workplace discrimination story. Harvard Business School added Victoria's case to their ethics curriculum. Management training programs nationwide included the cleaning lady test, how executives treat people they perceive as powerless. Jennifer Walsh, the junior associate who filmed the original incident, was promoted to Director of Corporate Communications. Her new role involved documenting positive workplace interactions and promoting dignity initiatives. "The video changed everything," Jennifer told a business journalism conference.
but not because it went viral, because it showed us who we really are when we think no one important is watching. 2 years later, Nexus Global had become the gold standard for workplace culture. Employee satisfaction scores reached record highs. Turnover dropped by 67%. The company's stock price had increased by 34%, proving that treating employees with dignity was also good business. Luz Elena Martinez was featured on the cover of Fortune magazine as Executive of the Year. The article's headline read, "The Chairwoman Who Cleaned House." In the feature interview, Luz reflected on the experiment that changed corporate America. "People ask if I felt bad about deceiving Victoria Blackwood, but I didn't deceive her. I simply allowed her to reveal who she really was when she thought there were no consequences. The real deception was the system that taught executives they could abuse people without accountability. We changed that system." On the 2-year anniversary of the incident, Luz walked through the Nexus Global lobby, where it all began. The marble floors gleamed, but more importantly, the culture had transformed. She stopped at the spot where Victoria had called security to remove her. A small plaque had been installed. "Dignity is not negotiable. Every person matters. Every voice counts." Maria Santos, a cleaning staff member who had shown Victoria kindness on her final day, approached Luz. "Chairwoman Martinez, thank you for everything you've done. My daughter just got accepted to business school. She says she wants to be a leader like you." Luz smiled, remembering the scared, overworked woman she'd met during her undercover months. "Tell her that real leadership isn't about the title on your door."
But now, instead of documenting discrimination, employees were sharing stories of positive leadership, workplace dignity, and corporate accountability. Victoria Blackwood's fall had become a catalyst for Victoria's redemption and corporate America's transformation. Choose respect. Choose to lift others up, because leadership isn't about who you can push down. It's about how many people you can help rise. 3 years later, the Nexus standard had spread globally. Companies worldwide implemented undercover assessments, dignity protocols, and zero-tolerance harassment policies. The original video, now with over 50 million views, had become more than viral content. It was a cultural touchstone representing the moment corporate America began prioritizing human dignity over unchecked authority. But the real victory wasn't measured in views or policy changes. It was measured in the millions of workers who no longer had to endure public humiliation, who felt safe reporting abuse, and who could go to work knowing their dignity was protected. The cleaning lady who became a chairwoman had cleaned more than floors. She had cleaned an entire system of embedded prejudice and abuse. And the CEO who lost everything had found something more valuable than any corporate title: the chance to help others avoid her mistakes and build workplaces where every person mattered. The revolution would be live-streamed, the transformation would be permanent, and the message would echo in boardrooms forever: treat every person with dignity, because you never know who's really watching.